What's going on, everybody? Spunky99 coming at you another video. Even though we know that Carson Wentz is the franchise quarterback of the Eagles, that is not going to stop the Eagles from keeping their options open and drafting quarterbacks. According to Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles owner, he wants the Eagles to get back to drafting the quarterback every other year or whatever, to like they used to do back in the day. So, Howard Roseman also shares that same sentiment, man. They want to draft a quarterback every other year. They want to keep that quarterback room competitive, which I have no problem. I have no problems with that whatsoever. Competition brings out the best of players, and I have no problems with that. The Eagles currently have on their roster, besides Carson Wentz, they have Nate Sudfeld, and they signed former AAF and Los Angeles Rams quarterback Luis Perez. But the Eagles want to bring in more guys, and like I said, just keep the competitive energy, the competitive juices out in their locker room flowing. The Eagles are very unlikely to draft a quarterback in the early rounds. If they do draft a quarterback this year, it's going to be in the later rounds. I would say the 4th, 5th round. And some of the names that have been mentioned as possible players the Eagles could draft is Will Greer of West Virginia University. You have Jared Stigum of Auburn. You have Tyree Jackson of Buffalo. You have Clayton Thornton of Northwestern. You have Brett Rippon of Boise State. And you have Eastern Stick of North Dakota State, which is Carson Wentz' alma mater. And Eastern Stick is a good friend of Carson Wentz, which makes sense. That's his alma mater, and they played together, so that makes a lot of sense. From what I'm hearing, Eastern Stick is the guy who the Eagles really like a lot. They cover him a lot. So they would love to bring in another North Dakota State quarterback. Like I said, man, I got no problems with this whatsoever. I have absolutely no problem with drafting the quarterback, every other year, because you just never know, man. You just never know. We all know Carson Wentz, the franchise quarterback, and he is set to become one of the highest, if not the highest paid quarterback in the league very soon, especially if he goes out there and he balls out this year. That guy's going to get paid. But you got to have a good insurance policy there, too. You got to have, somebody that can come in and, knock on wood right now, but if anything happened to Carson Wentz again, you got to have good insurance blanket there. So I have no problem with this whatsoever. Competition brings the very, very, very best out of players, and Carson Wentz really doesn't have to fear for his job, but having the other quarterbacks there looking over your shoulders a little bit, of course that's going to really inspire Carson Wentz to really play his very, very best. But, we moved on from Nick Foles for a reason, Nick Foles deserved to be a starter in the NFL, and it was obviously not going to happen to Philadelphia. So the Eagles, they had no choice, As much as I would have loved to have kept Foles and Wentz, it was just not going to happen. There was no way that the Eagles were going to be able to afford to pay both Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. And they're not going to pay Nick Foles what he got paid in Jacksonville to sit on the bench and be a number 2 quarterback. Excuse me, number 2 quarterback. It was just not going to happen. So, yeah, there was no way they were going to pay him that kind of money to be a number 2 quarterback. So, best of luck to Nick Foles down there in Jacksonville. The Eagles are going to play the Jacksonville Jaguars next year. And in the preseason, they're going to play Jacksonville Jaguars down in Jacksonville. And the media is going to start hyping it up as Nick Foles versus his former team. But it's a preseason game. Carson Wentz may not even play that game, to be honest with you. So I don't really put much stock into that preseason game whatsoever. But back to what I was saying, man. Jeffrey Lurie said, they want to draft a quarterback either every year or every other year, like the Eagles used to do back in the day. So, they're going to get back to that. They're going to get back to, bringing in guys every now and then. And like I said, just keep that locker room, keep the competitive juices flowing. Because, you just never know, man. Quarterback is a very, very important position. It's the most important position in football. And you got to have guys, you got to have a very good locker room of quarterbacks, a very good quarterback room. And, And what better person for these young guys to learn from than Carson Wentz? Carson Wentz, You know, despite his injury last year and the year before, the guy has shown his potential to be a absolute superstar. He's shown his potential as an MVP candidate quarterback. So that's going to rub off very well on the younger guys especially. So I have no problem with this whatsoever. Carson Wentz is going to get his payday. He's going to get his money. And as we see quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, you know, guys like that, Dak Prescott, those guys who are all set for big contracts, the moment we see those contracts get signed, it's going to raise that market for Carson Wentz. That's just the way it goes, man. You know, the bigger these contracts get, the more money you're going to have to pay your guy when his contract is due. When he's on the caliber of a top quarterback. You know, I've given you my thoughts on Dak Prescott. I don't think Dak Prescott's worth that kind of money, but that's what the market dictates. You know, that's what the market dictates, and Dak Prescott's going to get paid really handsomely, and that's going to have an effect on Carson Wentz's contract for sure. There's no doubt in that whatsoever. Like I said, Russell Wilson, another guy. Like I said, Russell Wilson is due a contract pretty soon, and his contract is going to really have an effect on not just what Carson Wentz get, but what guys like Jared Goff get. You know, guys like that. It's going to have an effect on them as well. You know, so yeah, and you know, but the Eagles made it very clear that they're 100% committed behind Carson Wentz. He is the quarterback of the future. They moved up and gave up a lot for him with the Browns, and they're committed to him. But like I said, that does not mean they're going to stop adding quarterbacks. You know, Luis Perez and Nate Sudfeld, you know, those guys are, you know, it's really going to affect them the most, you know, when we bring in other quarterbacks, because it's going to make them step up their games to keep their roster spots. Carson Wentz's roster spot is almost intact. As long as he plays well, his roster spot is safe. And he's good, but guys like Nate Sudfeld, Luis Perez, it's really going to, you know, make them step up their games a lot to make sure they keep their number 2 and number 3 jobs respectfully. You know, because the depth chart that currently stands, Carson Wentz at number 1, Nate Sudfeld at number 2, Luis Perez at number 3. That's the way the depth chart stands as we currently speak. And those guys with another quarterback coming in looking over their shoulders, they are definitely going to have to make sure that they go out there and show why they deserve to stay in the spots that they're in. I definitely believe in Nate Sudfeld a whole lot. You know, I'm not like saying that if he came in and played like Nick Foles did after Carson Wentz went down, but I do believe Nate Sudfeld is very, you know, capable of being a solid quarterback in this league. I think that guy definitely could be a starter one of these days. I think highly of Nate Sudfeld. I think he's a solid quarterback for what I've seen of him. And Luis Perez, I haven't seen a whole lot on Luis Perez besides a little bit of tape I saw on him. But the Eagles feel like he's coachable. They like his I guess his mindset, and they feel like he could be coached very well. So, you know, Doug Peterson is a great, you know, guy to teach him. You know, definitely coach him up and stuff. So, you know, those guys, when we draft a quarterback, they're definitely gonna have another guy looking over their shoulders. But ultimately, I think they will rise to the challenge. Competition brings the very best out of players. It's basically what I'm trying to say. It brings the best out of players. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and talk about that a little bit, man. Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie said the Eagles want to get back to drafting a quarterback, if not every year, every other year, like they used to do back in the day. And GM Harry Roseman agrees with him. So don't be surprised you see the Eagles draft a quarterback in the later rounds of this draft. I know I won't be for sure. And don't be surprised in future drafts you see the Eagles draft quarterbacks in the later rounds. They're just keeping their options open, and they're just trying to keep that locker room, that quarterback room, competitive. That's all they're trying to do. And I have no issues with that whatsoever. I think our quarterbacks that we have now will do okay, and they will rise to the challenge, especially Carson Wentz. That guy has a chip on his shoulder, and he has a lot to prove. So I know Carson Wentz is going to bounce back next year in 2019. I expect him to have a great year in 2019, and I expect him to have great years for years to come. You know, that guy's going to be one hell of a quarterback. I truly believe that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section about the Eagles drafting quarterbacks in the later rounds, you know, and the possibility of drafting one this year. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you're new, subscribe, like, comment, tell me what you think. As always, go Eagles. Spunky Nice 91 is out. Peace.